Yes, welcome into SportsBIT Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, here we are, Monday, March 20th. Huge show coming up, big game breakdown. Wizards, Celtics, Warriors, Thunder, deep dive. We go over the early Sweet 16 lines that are out, and also the Champions League quarters draw came out over the weekend. We'll go over that and some odds and play of the day before we get out of here. So much for carnage in the brackets. 111 seed, 2 7s, 1 8, everything else, the 1, the 2, the 3, and 4, even the 5 seeds got bounced. Weird tournament, Teddy, where you only saw one true upset in the first round, and then other than Wisconsin beating Nova, we didn't see a lot of major upsets this year.
Yeah, I mean, from a fan perspective, I got to think that if you weren't betting on the games, the tournament's probably been, an okay opening weekend, but certainly not a memorable one. However, if you were betting on the games this past weekend, like I'm sure the vast majority of our viewing audience was doing, oh my God, what a weekend, Pauly. Insanity, game after game, with point spread drama, total drama, everything coming down to the wire. Heck of a weekend for bettors, even if from a seeding perspective, 12 of the 16 higher seeded teams advanced to the Sweet 16.
Yep, so many games came down to the final possession. These numbers are so tight, it's very important to shop and get the best number. Yesterday, Wichita State and Kentucky. Kentucky opened 2.5, bounced around 3.5 all weekend. It lands 3. USC Baylor, point spread drama, closing seconds, opened 6, bet up to 7, then down to 5, sitting at 6 with a second left before Boatwright put it in, meaningless basket to put it on 4. And you saw, it didn't happen in the Oregon game, but how many games did you have the crazy scramble points at the end? Foul, lay it in, three-pointer, lay it in, madness.
Oh my goodness. Okay. You talk about Wichita, Kentucky. Great game. And there were so many great games. But from a point spread perspective, doesn't matter which side you had, you're not supposed to lose that bet. You're allowed to push. You're not allowed to lose Wichita, Kentucky. If you find yourself with a losing bet in your hands on Wichita State, Kentucky, or in your portfolio on that game, it's time to find more outs. It's time to examine your betting skills. USC Baylor, I mean, that's another one that, right down to the final second. You call that a meaningless Boatwright bucket? It wasn't meaningless to me. It wasn't meaningless here in Vegas. That's what they call it, of course, when you turn a 6-point deficit into a 4-point deficit in that final second. And you talked about the scramble points. You had, for example, Northwestern Gonzaga that got over the total. They had, 21 scramble points the last 2 minutes with layups and then, 3-pointers at the other end. You had the Duke South Carolina game with them that felt like a million scramble points over the last 2 minutes. And then you had Oregon Rhode Island, where no scramble points at all. The Ducks are up 3, and Rhode Island uses the whole possession and takes a shot, misses, and the clock runs out. And there was never any late foul or anything. So Oregon never had a chance to cover the 4.5. Those games will happen. Middle Butler total lands right on the number. 139 was a closer, landed 139. Iowa State Purdue total 155, lands 156. Michigan Louisville total lands right in the middle, opens 140, closed 143, landed 142. I mean, yeah, you say the lines are tight. This is proof that the lines are tight, and it makes betting skills that much more important at this time of the year. You have to have multiple outs, and you have to be able to use those outs to get the best of the number. If you're not, you're missing opportunities.
The people who laid the big chalk over the weekend, nightmare weekend. Favorites of 5 or higher went 2-7 ATS. Kansas and Arizona got the money, and Arizona was life and death there to do so. Duke lost straight up. So did Florida State and Nova. Florida State blown out against Xavier in Orlando. The Zags, Tar Heels, Ducks, and Baylor all won, but didn't cover. And dead wrong on Xavier. I didn't think they belonged in the tournament. They proved a lot of people wrong. Great job by Xavier and Mac, who's an excellent coach. How about this tweet? ESPN stats and info. Xavier reaches the Sweet 16 for the 4th time under Chris Mack. Those 4 appearances have been as a 6 seed, 10, 6, and an 11. Unbelievable coaching job there.
No question. They were probably underseeded every time. Although I wouldn't say that this year, considering how poorly they closed out the regular season. But to see what they did to Florida State. And remember, that's a friendly crowd for the Seminoles. It wasn't a situation like South Carolina's got all the home, the home fans in Greenville. It was a situation where they were the road team essentially in that game and blew them out of the water. How about this one? With the 8-9 matchups, where the line is 3 or less, 13-0 against the spread for the dog, exactly, including a 3-0 this past weekend. That's one from the real Mr. ACL. Good tweet there, and that's one that we had mentioned earlier in the week. But the big story, certainly of the opening round, the overs, Paul, the books got crushed with game after game flying over the total.
So we talked about Thursday night, you had all 4 late games go over, and it snowballed. The parlay liability continued into Friday. Started off with Michigan, Oklahoma State, and 25-9. It started 25-9 to the over. Nick Bogdanovich, director of trading at William Hill, Vegas took it on the chin. He said the biggest culprit for us was all those overs. And I'll tell you, it's hard to bet an under now. When you see how they officiate these games, they call everything. You look up, all these teams are in the bonus 7-8 minutes in.
Sure, and not to mention the scramble points at the end, because when it comes to a we're done after this game scenario, teams will foul one more time. They will start to foul a little bit earlier. And you can get these ridiculous scoring runs over the final, 60, 90, 120 seconds of a ball game. I'm with you. If you're going to be betting an under, it better be something that you're pretty confident about. Like, I don't know, Florida, Virginia. One that we said, hey, lucky to get to 60 in this one. Though the Gators got to 60 there. The Cavs, not so much.
How about a conference breakdown? Oh my God, a nightmare for the ACC. They wanted 10 or 11 teams in. Remember, they were talking, hey, if Clemson beats Duke in the ACC tournament, they could get in. They got 9 teams in. One goes to the Sweet 16. That's an embarrassment. And they are 2-13 ATS in the tournament. The 2 covers, Carolina against Texas Southern and Duke against Troy. Are you serious? Not to mention, going into the afternoon session, all the teams in the second round have been outscored by 72 points against the spread.
Well, that's just it. Let's get that chart up there right now and take a look for the conference, because this is one, Pauly, we get to pat ourselves on the back for a little bit. What did we say going into the tournament? Pac-12. Bet the Pac-12 wins over. And look at this. Pac-12. The best point spread conference in the tournament so far. 8-1 straight up. 7-1-1 against the number. The Big Ten is one that us and pretty much everyone's wrong. We're saying, hey, is the Big Ten going to be out by the Sweet 16? No. Big Ten teams were money winners once again. Big 12 teams, also money winners. SEC teams, money winners. Where the money didn't come from? Well, all the teams are getting on TV on the East Coast. The AAC didn't make any money. The Big East didn't make any money. And as you mentioned, Paul, the ACC crushed bettors over the course of this past weekend. If you're an ACC backer, you really took it on the chin.
Let me read that again to be clear. This was after the Louisville-Michigan game. None of the 4 ACC teams in the second round came within 7 points of the spread. The 4 lost by 72.5 points versus the closing number. At a time, how about the team that advanced? The only team. Carolina's down 5 with 3 minutes.
No, again, as double-digit chalk, But it wasn't just the ACC. The number 1 seeds didn't do particularly well against the number. Only one number 1 seed covered a point spread over the weekend, Kansas. Villanova obviously losing straight up. North Carolina didn't get there. Gonzaga, much to my chagrin, blew a huge lead against Northwestern and looked like they were going to lose that game straight up. Not an impressive second half for the Zags. So who's that leave us left, Pauly? What do we got? We got 16 teams remaining. Who do we got?
All right, let me bring it up. 3 in the Big 10, 3 in the Big 12, 3 in the Pac-12, 3 in the SEC, 2 in the Big East, 1 ACC, and 1 West Coast Conference. So an eclectic mix there. And boy, the Pac-12, it looked like USC was going to come back too. So an incredible start to the tournament for the Pac-12. We have some opening numbers we'll get to in the deep dive, and we'll set the table here. We'll do 2 games starting Tuesday, 2 Sweet 16 games, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as we keep it going here on SportsBIT. One note in the NBA, the Lakers get the money again. The Cavs, I'll tell you though, the art of the tank, right? The Lakers were up double digits in the fourth quarter before they said, hey, we can't win these games. We got to get a top 3 pick here.
Yeah, of course, the Lakers praying that the ping pong balls work in their favor, because if it doesn't, their pick will not be theirs Is that the Lakers that have that situation? It doesn't matter. Back-to-back point spread covers for LA. Break up the Lakers, Pauly. Our number one fade team in the NBA just covered a couple of numbers.
Yeah, if the pick's not in the top three, it goes to Philly. Yes. Big game breakdown coming up next. Wizards, Celtics, Golden State, and OKC. And we'll get to Champions League and Sweet 16 in the deep dive on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBIT, Betting Insight today. Follow us on Twitter at Pauly Howard at Teddy_covers. Time for big game breakdown as always. Live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Wizards hit the road to take on the Celtics. No line. Isaiah Thomas, questionable. Same with Morris for the Wizards. January 11th, Celtics were 5.5. They won 117-107 at home. January 24th, Wizards +1. They won 123-108 at home. What's your number if Isaiah doesn't play?
If Isaiah Thomas does not play tonight, my number would be Washington in the -5.5, -6 range. If he does suit up for Boston, the number would be a couple of points lower than that, in the 3.5 to -4 range. Either way, the Wizards will be and should be favored against the Celtics team on the second of back-to-backs.
Yeah, bad loss for the Celtics in Philly on Sunday. Race is on for the 2 seed in the East. Celtics 44-26, Wizards 42-27. Maybe the Wizards hit the wall, 6-4 straight up, but 2-7-1 ATS the last 10. Lucky they've had a soft schedule, 9 straight games against teams that have losing records. What do you think of the minutes per game here with Beal and Wall? Is it adding up? Is it taking a toll?
Well, I mean, John Wall, the full season number is going to show you close to 37 minutes per game, number 6 in the NBA. Bradley Beal, close to 35 minutes per game. He's also top 20 in minutes played. But one of the interesting things is that their point spread record has not been good in recent weeks. They had an incredible run where, for the better part of 2 months, the Wizards were the best point spread team in the NBA. Now, again, just 2 covers their last 10 ball games, and some of that has to do with the fact that Wall and Beal haven't been playing as much. One thing Washington did at the trading deadline, in particular, picking up Bogdanovic, it was improving their depth in the backcourt so that they could sit Wall and Beal a little bit more. So the fact they still have major minutes for the full season, but in recent games those minutes haven't been quite as high. Perhaps that has been a factor in Washington's recent point spread failures.
Saturday was rough. I mean, the Hornets have been terrible, and they lost at Charlotte 98-93. They shot a season low 36%. John Wall, quote, one of those nights where you just couldn't make shots. I think he did a great job of moving the ball. Guys got great looks, missed a couple free throws that hurt us, but other than that, we couldn't get into a rhythm, couldn't make shots, end quote. Chance to find out where those offensive legs are. Bradley back in the rotation. The Celtics defense is picking up. Boston defense, points per 100 possessions, pre-All-Star 18th, post-All-Star 4th, and the markets have fallen behind 9-2 and 2 to the under since the break. Could be 10-1 and 2 depending on the Sunday grading. Open 209, bet down to 203, fell 204. How is the offense with Isaiah Thomas, and how will they do without Isaiah if he can't go?
Well, that's just it. I mean, yesterday in Philadelphia, the offense completely died without him in the fourth quarter. And look, the Sixers are playing defense, and Philadelphia has knocked off plenty of other teams at home in recent weeks and months. So it's not like Boston has to freak out. Oh my God, we lost to the Sixers. The Sixers have been moneymakers. They've been very good at home, and that was an early start game that I think hurt the Celtics' energy. But the fact that offense did not work at all without him in the fourth quarter of a tight game, not necessarily a good sign here as they go to Washington. Remember, I mean, it's probably a break for Thomas to get a few days off at this time of the year. But we talk about the playoff chase and the race for the number 2 spot and the number 3 spot in the East. And I know it doesn't matter that much, but that was a costly giveaway when you talk about a loss that they're supposed to be able to win that game. That's a costly giveaway in the playoff chase. Now, it's worth noting, Thomas is going to affect the point spread here. If Thomas is not in, we're going to see a no Thomas number. And if he is, obviously, that will affect the number significantly. The Morris injury for Washington is not going to affect the point spread, 1 iota. And I'm telling you, you want to talk about a guy who's hit more clutch shots than anyone else? Well, Wall's hit the most. Markieff Morris has been an impact player for that team. Don't sleep on his absence if he's not healthy enough to go this evening.
Did you like what happened Saturday night with the Cavs and the Clippers?
Did I like what happened? I mean, no. I can't say I like because I didn't have any money on the Clips in that game. But if I would have liked it a lot.
Huge move in that one. That you get that info early. Load up. Game number 2, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. First game of doubleheader tonight on TNT. Warriors 2, 221 in OKC. From here on out, every game matters for the contenders in the West. 3 beatdowns so far. Golden State laying 12, won 122-96 at home. Laying 15, won 121-100 at home. And laying 8, beat OKC on the road 130-114. All big games by Durant. The 1 seed, Warriors 55-14. The Spurs 53-16 as the 2. Then you see the 5, 6, and the 7. The Clippers, the Thunder, and the Grizzlies all fighting there, bunched together. And the Warriors came home tired and flat off that long road trip. Trailed the Sixers by double digits in the fourth quarter. Rallied to win that game and handled Orlando in Milwaukee. Did they get their legs back, Teddy?
Well, this is certainly the first 2 good games we've seen Golden State play back-to-back in quite some time. Now, some of it is the fact that they played the Orlando Magic and a Bucks team that was on the second night of back-to-backs off a win and had been playing pretty good ball, but they won by 30 and by 25. We haven't seen those kind of wins by the Warriors in a recent week. So, certainly a positive sign. And Kerr, look, he's still scrambling with his rotations a little bit. You know, the main guys, the main cogs, you know, Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, they're all set. But the rest of the guys, we're seeing a lot of awkward minutes, guys playing one night and not in the next. Look at the numbers from the 3-game homestand. Against, again, 3 losing teams, the Bucks, Magic, and 76ers. A lot of guys getting some minutes here and some minutes there. So we have to ask ourselves, Pauly, and it's a legit question. Do they just get away with beating some bad teams? Or is this a squad that's finally on an uptick? And will they be able to match up tonight on defense and on the boards against a team? Yeah, they've blown them out 3 times, but all 3 times it's been the Kevin Durant show, not the Warriors in the low post show.
I think they have their mojo back, but it's going to be tough to match up tonight. Oladipo and Canner back. Gibson moving into the starting lineup. They go on a 5-0 straight up an ATS run. Beat the spread by 55 points. And it changes the team in multiple ways. More punch off the bench. Canner and McDermott combined for 35 points off the bench against Sacramento Saturday. Sabonis also a better fit off the bench. And you can send waves, 2 guys on the boards, with Gibson, Adams, Cantor, Sabonis. And look at the March rebounding. OKC number 1. Blazers right behind them. And, you know, Cantor's been a force. He can't guard you, Teddy. But in the last 11 games, 116 points, 66 points, 82 rebounds, over 184 minutes of court time. And look at the efficiency, too, if you look at the production per 48.
Yeah, I mean, the production per 48 minutes are kind of scary. The guy's averaging 43 points and 21 boards during that span. That's efficient. That's a guy that's getting a maximum usage rate. And talk about those rebounding. Let's flash those rebounding numbers one more time. You know, the amazing thing is not the Blazers as number 2, considering how bad Portland's been. They've been very different since the trading deadline and picking up the low post force from Denver, who's been an impact player for them. But for OKC, I mean, they're lapping the field here. You know, look, everyone else 52%, and then here's OKC at 54.5%. This is something we talked about the Thunder a lot last year. Their ability to dominate the glass, their ability to win the rebounding battle, to hit the offensive glass, to control the defensive glass, and those extra possessions really add up, especially in a statement game like this for the home team after getting wiped out by Golden State in each of the first 3 meetings this season.
All right, I think it'll be high scoring tonight. Up next, deep dive. We have the early lines for the Sweet 16, and we'll go over that. And also the Champions League quarter draw came out. We'll run through that and the play of the day up next on SportsBIT. Betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping it up on SportsBIT Betting Insight today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 2 Sweet 16 games each day. Time for the deep dive. We have some Sweet 16 numbers already out as we tape. Kansas 4.5, 156.5 against Purdue. Can't wait for this matchup. Swanigan is the man, was terrific in the win against Iowa State, which was a great game. And so far, I'm very impressed. I mean, you got to love what Kansas is able to do. They were awesome against Michigan State. Hard to blow out an Izzo coach team. So many weapons for Kansas.
And Kansas, a team that had struggles covering point spreads as favorites all year long. In fact, of all the top seeds, they were the worst as chalk against the spread. Look what they did in the Big 12 tournament, cover numbers. Look what they've done here in the Big Dance, cover numbers. They've been the best top seed ATS early on.
They have to take care of business, too. No excuses. Those games are in Kansas City for our Kansas. Look at this. Michigan laying 146.5 against Oregon. You can't handicap human emotion, Teddy. Michigan on a roll. And in this case, this is really legitimate momentum.
Sure, and the early monies come on Michigan. This line opened pick 'em in a lot of places. The Wolverines already -1. I saw a couple of 1.5s popping up. Early money on Kansas Purdue, by the way, on the over in that contest.
Oh, I don't know about this line. Gonzaga 3, 148 against West Virginia. Great game. If Gonzaga turns it over like they did against Northwestern, they're going to get run out.
Well, I mean, Gonzaga, a particularly unimpressive opening weekend. And we talked about the value problems with the Zags. Again, you're going to look at the advanced metric numbers and say, I don't know if Gonzaga should be laying points in this range to West Virginia, though the markets got it better than the advanced metrics numbers in a similar situation. We're talking about Arizona St. Mary's this past weekend.
This will be the late game, West Regional, San Jose, Arizona 7.5, 144.5 against Xavier.
Yeah, early money there on the over, which surprised me because these aren't two teams that I think of running up and down the floor, although Zona's been trending over a little bit in recent weeks. They didn't get over against St. Mary's, and I'm not sure this matchup's going to be a whole lot easier for either of these two squads offensively.
Late game from Madison Square Garden, Florida the favorite, 131.5 the total against Whiskey.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by this number, considering that Florida was a dog to Virginia. And there was some talk that the seating committee just accidentally switched Wisconsin and Minnesota and just didn't tell anyone that they had the two Big Ten teams just in the wrong spots. But obviously because the seating didn't make any sense. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Wisconsin take a little money here, although the early action hasn't been much with the Gators holding 1.5, 131.5. We'll see what happens throughout the day on Monday. Let's
auto fade the ACC. Come on, 2-13 ATS in the tournament. Look at this, Carolina 7.5 against Butler. Butler's frisky. They'll be in that game, I think.
Sure, and the early money's come on the Tar Heels. It's opened 7 in a lot of places. We're already seeing 7.5s. Could go a notch or two higher. And Butler, maybe the least sexy team out there, still remaining. And yet, they've got a pretty good resume. And they had a pretty good opening weekend. I would not sell the Butler Bulldogs short.
No line yet. Baylor and South Carolina. What do you think?
Baylor's going to be short chalk there. UCLA, Kentucky's going to be short chalk in that game. When I say short, we're talking about a point or two. I would expect when the lines open on Monday morning.
All right, and the Champions League draw came up. We can throw that graphic up there. Over the weekend, these quarterfinal matchups. Tuesday, April 11th, Barcelona against Juventus. Barcelona plus $1.80, Juventus plus 165, draw plus 220. Monaco against Borussia Dortmund, Monaco plus 380, Dortmund minus 160, draw plus 330. Wednesday, April 12th, Real Madrid against Bayern Munich, Real Madrid plus 320, Bayern Munich minus 130, draw plus 290. Leicester City 10-1, and draw plus 425. In that one. Let me read one quote from the Barcelona VP. Hopes to avoid the mistakes made against PSG in the round of 16 in order to ensure a smoother passage against Juventus. The draw is the draw. There are no easy teams in the quarters, but we always get tough ties. There's a good dynamic at the moment, and morale is sky high, but that doesn't mean we're going to go through. I respect them a lot. The advantage of playing the second leg at home is conditioned a lot by what happens in the first game. We hope it's not the same as PSG. And remember what happened? They were blown out 4-0 in the first leg before the incredible comeback when they won, 6-1, and had to score 3 goals in the final 10 minutes. All right, money time. Play of the day. Betting number 224206. This is Tuesday, April 11th, 11:45 Pacific. Let's take Borussia Dortmund minus 160. That's the play of the day. All right, loaded the rest of the week, Teddy. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All Sweet 16 games. Loaded week coming up here on SportsBIT.
Absolutely. Sweet 16 matchups every day this week. Do not miss an episode of SportsBIT. Of course, next week, we'll start with baseball previews. Paulie, I know you're looking forward to that. You're a big baseball guy.
It's depressing, actually. It means football's over and basketball's over.
There's still plenty of hoops coming. We have NBA playoffs. And come on, this week, Sweet 16 is going to be plenty of interesting discussion right here on SportsBIT every single weekday. Check it out. Tell your friends. Thanks for watching.